And I'd love to do a couple. I'd like to write one. Jose Garcia Lopez. Jose Garcia Lopez? Shame on you. Shame on you.
He's good.
The best unacknowledged comic book artist alive today. You've taken for granted. In fact, Rob Liefeld? Shame on you again. That more of you know who Liefeld is than Jose Garcia Lopez, you should be ashamed of yourselves. You should be supporting quality talent as opposed to direct. At any rate, I wrote a story for Jose Garcia Lopez, and I wrote one for myself to draw. Does anybody know the Flashman stories by George MacDonald Fraser?
Yeah.
Okay. Flashman is a series of stories about a guy who was a cad, a bounder, a coward, a liar, a cheat, a thief, a womanizer, who, through luck and malfeasance, manages to paint himself as a hero of every experience he has. While everyone else is getting killed and he's hiding behind a rock, he emerges as the hero. And I wanted to do a Western that had that sort of presentation, that sort of characterization. So that's what I did with this. This is called A Soiled Dove Avenged, or The Code of the West. And it's about a movie being made with this 50-ish guy as technical advisor about his own experiences back in the Old West. And what we do is we hear him telling the story as it's being told in the movie, and we see what actually happened. And it's pretty funky. The story that I wrote for Jose Lopez is never going to see print at these days, because they decided it was a little wrong for them. It was a little too transgressive. And that was about George Armstrong Custer, the middle years, where Custer survived the Battle of the Little Bighorn by the successful use of Gatling guns and Hotchkiss guns, becomes the commercial spokesperson for Gatling guns and Hotchkiss guns, ultimately runs and wins for president, and invades Canada.
Will that story be published
elsewhere? Drawn by John Severin.
Oh, wow.
John Severin?
Oh, yes. One of my favorites.
No kidding. I'm excited. See, I'm still a fanboy, and I'm good with this. It's all right. We doing okay with this?
Yeah, we're doing
okay. I told you you didn't have to worry, right?
No, you're
Ariel is so nervous. He's so tense. That jacket, that used to be white. That's perspiration. He bleeds and sweats comic books. It's fantastic. And the front he bleeds in DJ sweat, What are you laughing at, young woman up there? That's right, be serious. Thank you. Strike a pose, come on. That's it, you did it. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Marksman.
Marksman.
Yeah, it's in the Dark Horse Presents.
Dark Horse Presents. I just sent notes on a second wave of colors from my colorist on Chapter 6. This is Chapter 1.
Yeah.
And I've got Chapter 7 ready to deliver a week from today. I'm back in the States on Tuesday, and it'll be finished up by Friday. It's about a guy who is an utterly unrepentant, untroubled criminal. He's a killer, he's a thief, he just makes his living doing this. His wife thinks he sells exercise equipment. And in the course of his actions, he gets his wife and children murdered and is believed dead himself. And he goes after the people who are responsible. First for the people who pulled the trigger, and then for the people who hired the trigger to be pulled. Because he has no concept of guilt or shame or moral responsibility until it is thrust deeply into his face and he's lying in a tub filled with his own blood and shit. And I'm having a good time with this. It takes place in Southern California, from San Diego up to as far north as Big Sur, which is Northern California. And the seventh issue, which we just did, is all driving. It's all California driving. It's driving on the Bixby Bridge in Big Sur. It's driving through the woods of Big Sur. And I'm not sure there's a sequel. I'd like to think about one, but I'm very happy with it. This is a very satisfying project to me.
Will it be collected into a book?
Yes, absolutely. No question.
This is from the first
That, by the way, is his agent. That's our hero. His name is Mark Lafarge. And that's his agent. Her name is Hazel. And she's an overage topless dancer who makes most of her living as a contact person for commissions for hits. And
his wife's down there in the corner.
Who is really pissed. She's very pissed off. And he's a fat guy for a reason.
He took fat reduction in his ass. That's the first hero I've seen who did that.
Well, it's an interesting concept. And it's story point.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah, it's a good little comic. This. I'm really happy about Dark Horse trying this one out again. You know, color stuff.
Yeah, I'm having a great time working at DHB. Working with Mike and working with John Shork have been really rewarding. When I got the Custer piece back, I called John immediately and sent it to him, and he loved it, and so did Mike. And they asked me who I thought would draw it, and I said John Severin, and if he can't do it, Russ Heath. Oh, yeah, no shit. Both guys. I mean, John is going to be 90 this year. 90, and he's still working. He's doing good stuff. Fantastic. One of my heroes. And politically speaking, I'm over here. John's way over here. I mean, really way over here. You know about that, right?
No.
Oh, John's politics are very, very much the far polar opposite of mine.
Okay.
I mean, your politics and mine are probably fairly close.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a very left-wing liberal Democrat from the United States. I'm a Jew from New York. What else can I do? You know what I'm saying? And John is a right-wing Irish Catholic.
There's also some rather incomprehensible stuff in this magazine, Blood by Neil Adams.
Oh, hey, Neil Adams!
I could not understand any of it. But
what is that about? Have you tried to read it? Read it out loud. Read it out loud on the phone to your friend.
it makes my eyes bleed.
Yeah, mine too. My head explodes. You know. Remember what? You know, I don't get it. Something's wrong there.
Okay.
Medication. And he's 10 years older than me.
Yeah, he looks really good.
He wears a squirrel on his head.
A squirrel.
He was telling someone at the convention that I was dissing his family. I don't know his granddaughter. I've never met his granddaughter. The only conversation I ever had about his granddaughter was with his daughter, who told me that she was jealous of my relationship with my grandchildren. I have 6 grandchildren, and they're really obnoxious and horrible little children, and I adore them. And she was saying that her grandparents were not as involved in her children's lives as I was in my grandchildren's lives. And I empathized. That was the last conversation. He apparently was telling this to Steranko, and for some reason Steranko was believing him. Why would you believe anything that man said? What you got there? Is that money for me? Is that power? Is that love?
You've been paid already.
What's the pay?
No, I'm just. We have 10 minutes left.
Uh-huh.
I'm just making of this as I go. What do you think about that title, huh?
Oh, please. I mean, I'd rather be a star because there's more money in it. What's that?
Somebody gave this to me before they speak here. It's about from American Century.
Yeah, what about it?
How do you feel about other artists? This is beyond Luke Ross, who's done your story.
Yeah.
How do you react to that?
Well,
American Century.
I wish I could have afforded to draw American Century. Unfortunately, they don't have enough money to pay for it. They just don't. We had wildly divergent quality of art on American Century. My writing partner and I no longer speak to him, by the way. We are divorced.
That's David Fishman.
Yeah. Who, as a friend of ours puts it, a former friend of his says, he who will not be named in my presence. He's a troubling figure, a complex figure, as I explained to you, a complex figure. We had a really good time in American Century. They kept us going long after they should have canceled it, because I think our editor really loved the book so much.
It's covered #1 that you did.
Yes.
Yeah. And it went to Norway and went in against XD, I think.
And we were absolutely breathtakingly reviewed in a number of mainstream newspapers and magazines. We got reviews that we felt we just were incredibly kind. We were referred to as the comic book equivalent of Graham Greene and James Ellroy, which is really very flattering, for Christ's sake. And as I say, I think they kept us going far longer than we should have been. There were things that I didn't know about. For example, I did not realize that one of the character names we used was actually a real person. My writing partner should have known. I'm probably sure he did. He was being an asshole about it. We got into some serious trouble with that. And about 2 years ago, I offered to do back up a second. Mad Men, the television series? Yeah. Those of you who think that I drew it, looks like I drew it, doesn't it? Okay. About 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I forget which, I got a call from my attorney, who represents me for the most part, and asked me to meet with a guy who at the time was the manager of the guy who created and runs the Mad Men series. I came in, had no idea what I was going for. They said they want to do a hardcover coffee table version of a comics adaptation of the first season of Mad Men. 400 pages.
Wow.
And they're told, and he's very skeptical. He uses that kind of Hollywood, they tell me that you're the guy who should be doing this book. And I said, well, I'm not going to draw 400 pages. He said, oh, no, we you know. So, are regular viewers seen all the shows, seen all the episodes? Okay. The Kodak sequence? Kodak carousel? And he gives me this, so how would you do the Kodak sequence? Like I'm going to fuck up, right, you know? Because I told him how familiar I was with the shot. And I sat maybe 30 seconds, pulled a piece of paper out of his computer, took a pen, and did a breakdown. And it was kind of like showing fire to an Aborigine. Like, oh. Oh, you know, like, oh, you mean it. You really know. You actually know the stuff, and you can actually do something with it. Oh, yeah, okay. This is why you called me in, because you did hear that I was. Yeah. So I walked out of there with a handshake agreement. I was going to edit the entire book, draw one of the chapters, write the comic book script versions of all the 13 episodes of the scripts, and art direct the book. And I had a list of talent hires. Dave Johnson was going to do the interstitial covers, breaking up the episodes. Dave Johnson, the single best cover artist in the American comic book business today, unequivocally. Those of you who think otherwise are wrong. Frank Cho, Ryan Bolland, Eduardo Riso. You know, these are good guys. These are guys who can easily see doing a Mad Men story, no? Okay. I get home, and I get on the phone with my attorney.